Are you a movie buff? Do you love dissecting and analyzing your favorite films? Look no further than the Projection Booth podcast. Join host Mike White and a bevy of guest experts as they explore the history, themes, and legacy of cult classics, obscure gems, and mainstream hits. Join us every week for a unique and engaging look at your favorite movies. So sit back, grab some popcorn, and tune in to the Projection Booth podcast, available on all major podcast platforms.
We're in Way Media.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Chasing Chevy Chase podcast. I am one of your hosts, Chris Stachiw, and I'm joined by my two good friends all the way from Cambridge and Wishawn and Wake Up Heavy. He's your friend and mine, Step and Fetch Its Own, Mark Begley.
Ever been on a coon hunt?
That's not the line I thought you were going to go with.
Oh, okay.
And all the way from the projection booth, your friend and mine, Mr. Michael White.
Folks ain't home, cross won't burn. Hell, ain't like it used to be.
I thought, Begley, you were going to go with the line, jump up and down, turn around, and pick a bale of cotton.
Yeah. That was a little too hard to remember or write down, so...
And on this episode of the Chasing Chevy Chase podcast, if you click on the link, you know what we're talking about. We're going to be talking about 1989's sequel to one of my favorite movies, Fletch Lives. Film is directed once again by Michael Ritchie, written by Leon Capitanos. This film takes it in the pants because of the writer's strike. Let's just get it out of the way right here, right now with the script, the written by credits. That was going on during the time. It is based on characters by Gregory Mcdonald, which are technically the first movie is based on the first book. This movie is not based on any of the books. This is a wholly original story. This film does once again star Mr. Chevy Chase. It actually stars Chevy Chase. Fucking novel concept. Apparently, once again, as the titular Fletch. This time, Fletch is tasked with figuring out why the land he inherited in Louisiana is worth killing for. It is a little bit of a conceit, a little bit of a stretch of the conceit. And I think we're going to have an interesting time talking about it. I'm going to kick it to you first, Mark Begley. We have not been having the greatest luck with films recently, to the point of frustration with you. So I am curious, did the film Fletch Lives break that curse with the recent Chevy Chase films, or are we still low batting percentage with Chevy Chase films?
I don't know if it broke it, but I wasn't anticipating to dislike it or anything, knowing, based on the last two or the prior two films that we watched, Funny Money and Caddyshack 2 were horrible duds that, Caddyshack 2 he's hardly in. So I wasn't expecting a big letdown or anything or a continuation of that, but my thoughts throughout were, this is just kind of boring. I was kind of bored. I actually dozed off for about 5 minutes during the movie. So I think I haven't read any of the books, but I think I would have preferred if they had gone with probably one of the other books, because it's a very overcomplicated, unnecessarily complicated story. And the whole idea of it being in Louis, this Southern twang thing just did not work for me. And I know that was a big thing in the 80s, in the late 80s. The music, the Zydeco, all that crap was going on for whatever. I blame it on Paul Simon's Graceland in part, because there's a couple of Zydeco-y songs on his album, and a lot of roots rock was happening then, and everybody was, getting into this music that no one had ever really listened to outside of that area before. But I don't know. I just didn't. I just kind of was bored throughout.
Mike White, same question to you, my friend.
I'm surprised you didn't just go right after Buckwheat Zydeco himself. I mean, go to the source, dude. Come on.
True, but why?
But,
where
yes.
did that? Who got interested in that? Because of what? You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. He was kind of the entree to like world music back in the day, as far as the Paul Simon of it all. Yeah.
Diamonds on the soles of their shoes, baby. That's what I think of when I think of Paul Simon. Like, he's a world musician. Speaking of Chevy Chase, I mean, one of Paul Simon's most, I think for people my age, people know him from the "You Can Call Me Al" music video, which features Chevy Chase. So,
very true. Good point.
Yeah. And it's bizarre because I didn't realize that it was Chevy Chase singing that. I always thought it was Paul Simon, but then you watch that video and you're just like, oh no, Paul Simon's just over here playing the drums and the flute. So
committed to the fucking bit, Mike White.
Yeah, there you go. I wasn't that bored with it. I feel like the choice of villains is a little strange. We'll definitely get into that. But I thought it was all right. I like you, Mark. I kind of wish that they had gone with a Mcdonald Fletch story. I would like to see more of those. I did watch Confess Fletch for this particular episode as well, just so I could see how John Hamm plays it versus Chevy Chase. And I gotta say, man, Chevy Chase fucking charming. I like John Hamm as well, but in this movie, I mean, this feels like a real return to form for Chevy Chase after all of these duds that we've been watching for the last few months. I know a lot of people, I actually got some feedback when we just put out the Spies Like Us episode, and people are like, hey, I really like that movie. And I'm like, well, that's great. You know, you probably watched a lot as a kid, and I didn't. So I don't have that nostalgia tint to it. For me, it just wasn't that enjoyable. This one, I was like, oh, okay, I can see where if people like Fletch, they probably like this movie as well. It feels like a little case of diminishing returns as opposed to the first Fletch movie. I felt like the first Fletch movie had a little bit more stakes. Like when Fletch in this movie is accused of being a murderer, it doesn't really feel like that matters. And it feels like they just they're like, okay, yeah, you can walk away and I guess he's out on bail, but it really just doesn't feel like
they didn't have enough to hold him, is what they said. Yeah,
it just didn't feel like there was enough there to this movie sometimes. So I thought it was pretty good and definitely better than a lot of stuff we've been watching lately. But I felt like it could have gone a little bit farther. I do have to say, great cast, though. I mean, R. Lee Ermey, weird casting. Hal Holbrook, fantastic. And then, of course, Cleavon Little, who I think actually, and you mentioned this before we started recording, you kind of made a Step and Fetch reference there. I think he could have played that up even more. And I think he could have done, he does that in Blazing Saddles where he's just like, "Ooh, boss," like that kind of stuff. I think he could have played the dumb angle even more and maybe started to lose it whenever he gets around Fletch and then finally the reveal at the end. What about you, Chris?
Okay, so a couple things to address something that Mike said that we've kind of alluded to already. We spent an entire month recently watching effectively ass movies, like bad Robin Williams movies. That was an intent by Mike. It's not something we do very often to watch, again, perceivedly bad movies. I mean, again, the movies we watched for Robin Williams month, I don't think they were all broadly terrible. I think that there were some that were okay. But I understand that being a problem and it weighing on all of us, especially with some of the comedies, because bad comedies I'm not sure there's anything worse than a bad comedy, really. Yeah, there's really not. And the last two Chevy Chase movies we've seen have been some of the best examples of really poorly done comedies, especially Funny Money. But Caddyshack 2, I mean, Chevy Chase's involvement in that movie is completely unnecessary, and frankly, it makes the film worse, I feel. His involvement in Caddyshack 2, primarily because it, makes me think of Caddyshack 1, which is a much better film, even if it's not an amazing film. And again, our opinions on Caddyshack 1 kind of differ, but I love this movie. I know that this movie is not a film that is there's a lot of problems with this movie. I think going to Louisiana is a fucking stretch. I think it literally takes one of the things that worked in the first movie of the setting of LA and goes, nah, this is not interesting. Let's go to Louisiana. And look, not saying, because look, I did my research for this episode a long time ago, by reading all the Fletch books before I did my Fletch episode on my show. So I've read all the Fletch books, including the Fletch prequels, including the Fletch Son books. He does go other places. Fletch goes to Boston and Confess Fletch. That is where he is both in the book and in the film with John Hamm. He goes to Rio de Janeiro in the books at the end of the first film. There is a book called Carioca Fletch where he's in Brazil, the entire book. So Fletch does go other places. Fletch is not totally bound to the city of LA. I will say the Chevy Chase version of Fletch seems pretty bound to the city of LA. And I think that that is more a symptom of this character of Fletch, less the book character of Fletch. The book character of Fletch is very different from the Chevy Chase Fletch. And the John Hamm Fletch, I think, is closer to book Fletch than Chevy Chase is, because I think we would all agree Fletch of the movie Fletch and Fletch Lives is really just Chevy Chase. I think it's the best version of Chevy Chase that we get in any of his movies. Like, I genuinely don't think Chevy Chase has ever been better than as Fletch, other than maybe Clark Griswold. But again, for me, I always find Clark Griswold to be, I mean, I know that the intent is it's really hard to see this guy as a family man, so that's part of the point. But that never, like, it's not that it never worked for me, but Fletch always felt like the embracing of the Chevy Chase of it all, of who he is, I think, at his core. And I think you see that as the person that he is. I think Chevy Chase seems like he's closer to maybe the character of Fletch on screen than he is to Clark Griswold. He seems kind of like an abrasive, self-centered guy, which, I mean, look, when people are saying you're the next Bob Hope, I'm not sure I blame you for having an inflated ego. I just don't think it ever got there, but that's okay. Chevy Chase is still being talked about in 2025, and there are plenty of comedians that can't say that. All of that to say, I will defend Fletch Lives vehemently because I think it's a better sequel than it has any right to be. I do think, again, to both of your points, it does drag. I think the conceit is to get Fletch out of LA is fine, but to take him somewhere like the New South in the late 80s, I mean, I get it. We had all those, like Southern trial movies. I'm trying to remember the one with like Matthew McConaughey and Samuel L. Jackson. I guess they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell. Like
A Time to Kill, is that the one?
Like we've got all, and again, the Pelican Brief is at the same time. Like the South is kind of being embraced in a big way, and we see it here with Fletch. I do wish there was more of the LA of it all, but to be fair, and I think y'all might agree with this, and I think this kind of opens up the discussion into some interesting directions we can go. If it had just been another LA movie, wouldn't it have just been Caddyshack 2? And then we'd be saying, well, I wish they had done something different and not just left it in LA. And I'm like, well, they did about as fucking different a thing as humanly possible, because at one point in this movie, Fletch is singing with animated dogs and birds. So, I mean, again, like if we were talking about taking a drastic right turn from the last film, which to Mark's point has a fair bit of stakes, or I guess maybe that was your point, Mike, this movie kind of is a little bit more loosey-goosey and a little bit, I guess, sillier in tone in a lot of ways, I think. I mean, the characters that he portrays are a lot more like prolonged scenes, especially the faith healer scene. Like that's like a good 20 minutes is what it feels like. That's like a two-parted scene. You have the scene when he's in the booth, then you have the scene when he's in front of the camera. Like these feel like a lot more prolonged jokes and a lot sillier jokes. And I think that's because, again, they just kind of throw the tone of the books to the wind and say, we're doing our own thing. And I mean, again, I'm curious what y'all's thoughts are on that, but the idea of it not being in LA, in my mind, is both a positive and somewhat of a negative. And again, like if they had just done LA again, I think it would have just been us complaining about something that was like Caddyshack 2, where it's like, what's the point? You're just doing the same first movie all over it.
I don't know that I have a problem with it being in the other LA, Louisiana. It's just that why there, and it leads to a lot of uncomfortable humor in the film. I mean, the whole Cleavon Little thing is, I just kept waiting. I knew he wasn't going to be some dumb
house slave. I mean, like he's supposed to be a house slave. They make the Emancipation Proclamation joke.
Yeah, I keep waiting for the break, and it really doesn't come until the very end of the film. You know it's coming, but it takes so long to get there. I'm like, oh, he's doing this the whole movie. Oh, okay. I mean, when he first shows up, I was like, what? And I get the thing with Blazing Saddles. He plays that part, but not right off the bat. In Blazing Saddles, he plays the part to dupe the townsfolk and whatnot. So it's not so much the Louisiana part of it. It's where that stuff takes some of the humor, which is dated to say.
Jeffrey Lewis as a Klan member.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. He's like in one scene. I was like, my dude, I want to see more of Jeffrey Lewis.
But I think that
more
one
of
scene
Jeffrey
is funny,
Lewis. More of Jeffrey Lewis, more of Richard Belzer as the Greek gangster. That was
Tito
odd.
Vandis, Barney Miller's own Tito Vandis. You're
Yeah.
pretty lady.
The Exorcist is own.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What were George Weiner as his as Gillette the lawyer? Which I mean, I think you could have a back and forth of just the two of them for an entire movie. Just Chevy Chase roasting his ass.
Mm-hmm.
That tripped me out, that scene where he's in his. I'm like, wait a minute, this is exactly what happens in the first movie. And that's
what
tripped
I'm
me out
saying,
for a second there.
That's what I'm saying. Like that could have been all Fletch 2 was just a retread of the first movie. But at the same time, the scene in this movie is funny. It goes in a different direction. He takes his face to the sink and he starts washing it. You know,
he's shooting the baskets, and I'm like, oh wow, this is like note for note that the scene from the first film, which I'm surprised I even remembered. But
and he even has like a hallucination dream, like in the first movie, because in the first movie he hallucinate dreams that he's playing on the Lakers, and then in this he's hallucinating that he's in, I guess, Song of the South. I'm assuming that's what that's
owner.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it was interesting because I saw this movie years ago because I think, Chris, you're just such a big Fletch fan that you would make references to it. And eventually I was just like, I have to watch these movies. So I watched the first two back to back and was like, oh, okay. You know, like I see now. And again, it was like, okay, yeah, I think if I had grown up with this movie, I would have enjoyed it more, kind of thing. And it did make me want to read the Fletch books. So that was very nice. But when I was reading the script, so it'd been many, many years since I saw the Fletch Lives. So I'm reading the script of it in preparation for this episode. And I forgot that Cleavon Little played the calculus entropy character. I was thinking of somebody older. I was thinking of like a Frank McRae or, you know, just somebody that would have maybe even like an Ossie Davis was in my head, where I was just like, oh, this guy had been with the aunt and was kind of her personal slave for the entire life. And we don't know this aunt. We don't really get any sort of, history of Fletch and her. And so when the whole thing of him getting this inheritance came about, I was like, oh, this is the beginning of Running Scared. This is, when, who is it? I think Gregory Hines pretends that he's the Billy Crystal character in order to avoid getting a subpoena, and he hides in the bathroom. And then is it Don Calfa that comes in and gives him the whole news about his aunt? And then he's just like, oh my God, this is fantastic. And like kind of being super happy that the aunt is dead, but it's because he just got an inheritance. And so they're like, all right, we're going down to Florida and we're going to, have a great time with all this. But it was like, oh, well, this is kind of the same thing. But as I'm reading the script, I'm just like, okay, I can picture this old guy. And then boom, it's a big surprise at the end that he's actually an FBI agent. Kind of like we just talked about Dumb and Dumber on the projection booth. And there's the guy from RoboCop 2 and RoboCop that's an FBI agent. And then the one woman who just like was so annoying at the gas station, she ends up being a FBI agent as well. So I'm just like, okay, well, this is kind of a trope, of the unexpected FBI agent. But I really think that it would have worked better if he had been an older character. I think it would have been even more of a surprise, and it would have been a little different of a relationship between the Fletch character and the calculus character, because in this, it feels like they really should be friends by the end of this movie. And the way that they go back and forth is great, but they're contemporaries, feels like they're very much of the same age. I don't know how old Cleavon Little was at this point in his career, but he actually looks a little younger than Chevy Chase does. You can start to see the gray coming into Chevy's hair. But, and again, though, I have to say, Chevy Chase, this role is just made for him, and the way that he can throw out those little zingers and never crack, and just he's, of course, it's not him necessarily as a, he's not writing this, but he is delivering these lines. Like, I mean, just the Nostradamus thing. And then the woman right back with the, I'm a big fan of the Fighting Irish. I love that kind of stuff. The way they go back and forth. I'm like, okay, this is really nice. And those little zingers that they do, I think is fantastic. And he just gives as good as he gets with that stuff.
Do you want to take a guess as to how old Cleavon Little was at this point? He's 3 years from passing away at this point.
47.
50.
Okay.
He is 50. Cleavon Little passed away at age 53 in 1992. This came out at 89.
Wow. I just turned 53 now. Jeez.
Yeah, Cleavon. I mean, I want to say this is either one of the latest things I've seen him in. I know he's also in a episode of Tales from the Crypt that I feel like maybe came like a year or two after this, and he looks sick in he doesn't look sick here. In the Tales from the Crypt episode, he's starting to look gaunt because I believe he passes away of colon cancer, which was obviously the fucking worst. So yeah, actually the last thing he was in was the Tales from the Crypt episode. So yeah. I love Cleavon Little. I mean, after we watched Fletch Lives last night, we watched Blazing Saddles, and I mean, he's just... I mean, that movie works because of Cleavon Little. Really. I mean, it really works because of him and Gene Wilder, but Cleavon Little's delivery is just, it's amazing. And he's amazing. And I like him in this movie. I see where you're coming from, though, Mike, because I think it probably would have worked better in terms of some of the back and forth of the jokes. And I mean, again, like, if you're going to have a guy who's already graying at the temples, might as well just lean into it a little bit more.
Well, it makes sense rationally that it would be an older man that had, like you're saying, had been with the aunt. I mean,
yeah, but at the same time, he's cast because of Blazing Saddles. He's in this because of Blazing Saddles. It's right, like this is just the character he's playing in this movie is kind of an aping of his character in Blazing Saddles. I mean, we've kind of already alluded to the idea that he does the "oh yes sir" bullshit in Blazing Saddles. This is just that version of the character just played up. But again, if you watch the movie once and then go watch it again a second time, you can tell how much he's fucking with Fletch throughout the entire movie. Like they show it at the beginning where he's like, "You want to help me with your luggage?" And he's just like, "Don't fuck up the car now," as he's having Fletch do the entire thing. I mean, again, it seems obvious initially what's going on, but then when you realize, oh, he is in fact an FBI agent, he's just putting Fletch through the paces because Fletch is an asshole and he's being an asshole too. But I do think I'm kind of with you though, Mike. I mean, Ozzie Davis in this would have been kind of fun. I do think though, and again, this is for me one of the big successes of the movie, even though again, the southernness of it all kind of permeates the movie. It'd be like if Fletch was in New York and everybody talk like this, "Hey, I'm from New York." It's like, Jesus, fuck, not everybody sounds like that. Not everybody's eating catfish with the heads on. Hal Holbrook is like one of the best parts of this movie, without a doubt. And I'm not saying you don't get that if you don't set it in the South, but he seems like the less obvious villain if it's not set in the South. If it's set in the South, you can kind of get away with the movie not having him be the villain for most of it because he's so charming. I think if this movie's set anywhere else and you have Hal Holbrook, it's like, oh, this guy's the villain, like from like very obviously. But I love Hal Holbrook in this movie. I love Hal Holbrook overall, but I really like him in this movie because him as a villain is it's kind of fun. He's having a good time with it, hamming it up as it were.
Oh, you went there, huh?
I went there. I had to. I'm sorry.
I was wondering if it was some sort of like Moses joke, or not Moses, Noah joke that his name was Ham, and then you've got the faith healer and all that. And so to go back to what I was saying earlier, and I'll just say it now, it's odd that the faith healer is not the criminal. It's odd that Arlie Ermy is not the bad guy and that it's Hal Holbrook, because, of course, you like Hal Holbrook. I like Arlie Ermy as a actor great. And as a person, but I dislike faith healers a lot and TV preachers. And so I'm just like, okay, well, he's going to do. And, of course, his intentions are not good, that he wants all of this land so he can make this crazy Bible land kind of thing, which they kind of show a little bit of, but I mean, they could have gone so much bigger and more tasteless when it came to what that Bible land was going to be. I mean, we've seen it in years since then of how Christians will make these crazy Bible land type of things, like the whole Noah's Ark thing down in Kentucky, and the museum where they're talking about how dinosaurs and people were living in harmony with each other, and all this kind of absolute insanity. But they could have gone there. We've seen, I think all of us might have seen like those, what were the Hell House, the documentaries, and there were a couple of them that all had the same title, but they were all about these different like a haunted house exhibitions that the Christians would do, where it's just like, I had an abortion, I'm going to hell, and like that is lunacy, and I think it's hilarious lunacy. I would have liked to have seen more of that. Like you see Randall Tex Cobb being picked up by a demon and his pitchfork and stuff, and you're like, oh, okay, but like you kind of lose it by that point. You're like, I want to see more of Bible Land. I want it more of this being almost like Beverly Hills Cop 3 with like the fake Disneyland. I want this being the fake, Bible Land, or like the Bible Land thing being here. And I want this to be like his whole thing, because we see Arlie Ermy at one point just being like, all your donations are going to Bible Land and we're going to make this thing amazing. And I just wanted it to be the tackiest place on earth.
Well, it's like, it reminds me of the Righteous Gemstones, which they kind of took that idea and really ran with it. Because essentially the Righteous Gemstones, that show is the Arlie Ermy character played by John Goodman. And then what if his kids were terrible people, unlike Julianne Phillips, who plays like a rather seemingly well-adjusted person?
Yeah.
For having him as a dad. The Heavenly Hilton and Convention Center, by the way, is one of the great throwaway Arlie Ermy lines. I mean, it's just, he's great. There's no universe where I'm like, Arlie Ermy as a faith healer, what the fuck? But it does work. It plays so against I don't know, it works for me because it plays very against type for him as an actor. Because, I mean, when I think of Arlie Ermy, me personally, I think of him. And again, he's doing kind of a shtick of a shtick of a shtick in The Frighteners, which is just a shtick of like all the other characters he'd seemingly done up until that point as kind of, the sergeant character that he...
Gunny, yeah.
Yeah, Gunny, which I guess is just him in real life. Like,
yeah, it's nice that he's not that character, but... Yeah, there it is.
This is what I look at every time we record. Nice. Is the gunnery sergeant Arlie Ermy. It's not even a character; it's him.
Yeah, it's just him.
That, so push my button, you slime bag.
Wasn't there like a show on History Channel where he was the host?
Yeah, he was. So, yeah, I think it was like weapons, all about different weapons of war, kind of.
Yeah, thing. And it was like asking him questions, or like, Arlie Ermy is a big deal, but like he's a personality, right? Like I don't know, he kind of just seems like himself, so he's playing really against type here, which I think kind of works for me. It's the same thing with Hal Holbrook, I guess. Like, he's not playing against type. His character ends up being atypical of what you expect from the guy who portrays Mark Twain. So,
Well, he always is the sneaky bastard, or that's what I picture him as.
God, guys, I watched this crazy fucking Hal Holbrook movie recently where, I'll look up what it's called, but basically you see him through the entire movie going, I wish my family was dead.
Oh, God, that movie is such a downer, man.
You saw that one too?
Yeah, that's another one of those Fun City Edition releases.
Oh, geez.
And I think I watched it on YouTube because they hadn't released their disc yet. And I was like, I kind of want to check this one out first. So it's with him and Nurse Ratched. I can never remember the actress's name.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember her name off the top of my head too. Louise
Fletcher?
Yes. Fletcher, thank you. Yes.
She plays his wife, and he's got, 2 kids? They've got 2 kids or something?
Yeah, he dreams of murdering his family. He just Natural Enemies is the name of it from 79. And I interviewed, because that was Jeff Canoe, the guy that did the Nerds movies, and he directed and co-wrote that. And I was just like, that movie was dark. And he was like, oh, you thought it was dark? I was like, yeah, Jeff. It was really dark, man.
What was dark about it?
Oh, gee, it's
he gets all those prostitutes and it's just,
God, yeah.
Isn't he telling them his fantasy?
Yeah, and you see his fantasy. You see him just come downstairs for breakfast, and he just takes out a shotgun and starts killing people, and then he cut, and it's it's like him, doing the Fletch fantasies, but it's all about murdering his family. Oh, wow. God.
Yeah, I think I need to watch this movie. I love Hal Holbrook. This is the first thing I ever saw him in, which always Father Malone and I have a very interesting history with this movie, and I'm kind of bummed we didn't ask him to be on this episode, because I used to troll the shit out of him about Fletch Lives, because I think he hates this movie. So at one point for his birthday, which also happens to be the same day as my birthday, I sent him a Fletch Lives poster for his birthday. And I had him on the phone. I was like, I want you to call me when you start opening the package and the mail. And he was like, you fucking son of a bitch. Why did you send me this Fletch Lives poster? I don't think he ever displayed it, but I also... when I've gone and read since this movie's come out, this movie does kind of have a reputation as being not a great movie. And I would kind of ask y'all, like, the perception of this movie being bad stems from what? The Southern stereotypes of it all? The poor, like, the plot? Like, I can't figure out why everybody had an issue with this movie other than, I mean, like, the thing I was reading was Chevy Chase seems fine, but everything else is the problem. And it's like, okay, I guess I would agree with that. But, I mean, I think Chevy Chase still carries the movie well enough to get it over the finish line.
Yeah.
It's overcomplicated, like I said at the beginning. To me, that's the main thing, and probably why I kind of got a little bit disinterested in the film. I'm like, okay, I don't need a fourth twist or something here. I don't need a new villain to introduce or anything like that.
You don't need them to go to the Universal backlot, clearly.
Yeah.
Running around on the Universal
and
Studios.
Universal Studios. And that's why that's why Bible Land isn't as interesting as it could be, because it's Universal Studios.
I've been on the Tran tour and seen that flood, the dam flood thing. I've seen it before.
I've seen that. Yeah, me too. The thing I will say, the what?
Did you ask for Babs?
Right.
Oh, yes. I don't think I'd seen any John Landis movies when I had been there. I will say this about the film. Chevy Chase is not phoning it in. Mm-mm. And so that for me was like, oh, okay. He's actually acting in the personas I enjoyed a great deal, especially the Ed Harley character that he played.
That was
tickled
really
me
good.
No end. That was probably my favorite scene, actually. For one thing, Dennis Begley is one of the bikers who I love seeing, and always, everybody else on the planet, confuses with the other heavyweight biker guy, Mickey Jones, and I'm like, which one is this? Because I couldn't remember.
Dennis Begley was the one who was in Suburban Commando, who says, this is the 90s. We'll sue you.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I love it when either one of them show up. I never remember which one it is in the movie that I'm watching, so I always have to look it up. But interestingly enough, they were both, Dennis Begley and Mickey Jones, in a film called Texas Taliban that was released in 2000. I think it's called something. It has a different title in IMDb.
That's a shame.
And also,
that's a pretty good title.
Yeah, it is.
What a shame, really.
Yeah, and I think the conceit is that the terrorists that do 9/11, like, we're discussing it in a Texas bar the night before or something like that, or months before or something.
That makes sense. They must have been friends with George W. Bush.
Nobody ratted him out. But another person in that film is Randall Tex Cobb.
Oh, nice.
So
Randall Tex Cobb was a rough dude in real life, apparently.
Yeah.
Sounds like a real, what's the term? Asshole. Major asshole. Kind of like the guy who played the on-screen persona, he didn't voice him, of Vigo from Ghostbusters 2. That guy is supposedly a giant asshole as well in real life. But yeah, if you do any research on Randall Tex Cobb, apparently he was a little bit much to be with, but physically imposing fella. So when you want someone to threaten Chevy Chase with sexual assault, you get a guy who's like 6'8".
Yeah.
And over.
Because there's nothing funnier than sexual assault.
Right.
Yes. We love a good jail rape joke, don't we, boys?
Yeah, remember Dirty Work? The other thing, that hurt the most.
Yeah. I mean, I guess for me, the you're talking about one twist too far. I think it's one female character too far, because we've got the woman who just comes on screen in order to be killed, which is a surprise. And then we've got the real estate agent who I think he sends packing pretty quickly, or is that the same character as Arlie Ermey's daughter?
That's the same character.
Same character, okay. Which is confusing for me, because I was like, okay, Hal Holbrook's daughter is no, she's not Hal Holbrook's daughter. She's Arlie Ermey's daughter, and I'm just like, oh, okay. Is there there's not a Hal Holbrook daughter, right?
No.
Is there another? Okay.
As you're saying that, though, it sort of makes more sense that she would be.
Mm-hmm.
To me,
there's a woman on the plane. Does that count?
Yeah,
the woman. Yeah.
Oh my God, I hate to fly. Yeah, that
right.
The Mr. Notre Dame. There's the lines of back and forth are really the best part of this movie. I think Begley, I think you pointed out the best part of this movie is that Chevy Chase is not phoning it in, but the movie is the script is like the phoning in of phoning in. Again, I go back to, and I mentioned it in the intro, this movie is a product of the writer's strike, which was taking place, I believe, either this year or the year before. And so this movie in a lot of ways feels like cobbled together ideas, because it kind of is cobbled together ideas. And yeah, that there being two twists, I guess, three twists, I guess. Is it 2 or 3? Or are we landing on 2? Yeah, by the end of it, I'm just like, I don't know if I necessarily cared that Cleavon Little's an FBI agent, because that's great and all, but, and yeah, like Hal Holbrook being the villain, okay, sure, like, all right, I believe that. He seems like a scumbag, but yeah, that Arlie Ermey's not in on it feels like, I don't know, kind of surprising in a way, but I guess it is kind of, that's the twist of the movie, is that, oh, you expect it to be the faith healer, and it's not. He's just kind of like a fucking dope. He's just, like, I guess he's genuine in his intentions. I guess that's the movie. That's what I can never figure out with the movie, is like, the movie is essentially saying that he's a genuine character, which is strange for, especially in 89. I mean, post, Tammy Faye Baker and all that. Like, I don't understand. It's weird, but again, I guess, yeah, that I feel like maybe that's part of the movie's point, is like, well, we're gonna, I don't know. I mean, I guess in a way that's not a bad thing. I guess it is, again, defying what one would consider to be expectations.
Well,
this is whether or not it's interesting, I guess, is the question.
He leads his life deceiving people. And they even show that moment where he's got the guy feeding him who this is, and like, oh, he's missing a limb, oh, raise your right hand. It's like, oh, no, he's missing his right hand. Oh, raise your left hand. Okay.
T-Boone Ted Marshall. Yep.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, like I just saw this in this movie Red Lights, where it was just like, oh, he's pretending that he's actually gifted, and it's like, yeah, we all know, so when they have that twist, it's not a twist at all, because that's the first time I think we really see him. We see him once, and then it's so bizarre that they actually call Fletch up to the stage. And so you're like, oh, he's going to be outed right here. And this is the big bad guy. And it's going to be this whole cat and mouse thing between Arlie Ermey and Fletch. And you're just like, oh boy, this is, like, oh, he's already outed. They've already figured out who he is. And so this is kind of like the warning thing, like, you better get off this stage and you better get out of Louisiana, buddy, that kind of thing. But no. And just the way that Ham comes in, he's there to rescue the Randall Tex Cobb character. So you're like, well, that's kind of odd, but then it's like it feels like he's rescuing Fletch by taking the Randall Tex Cobb character out of the equation for a little bit.
But he also gets Fletch out of jail as well.
He does,
straight up, which like was unnecessary though, because like you said, that the threat is gone. Like Fletch could have just stayed in jail for a while, and they could have played that up some more. Yeah, the movie is really, I will agree, the movie is a little complicated. I mean, we haven't even mentioned the fact that Phil Hartman is in this movie, because he goes to Bly Biochem, where he's IR Pissed, I think is the name of his character. I'm assuming that's what his character is, probably, piss and blood, I think. And then he's talking about pissing blood at one point. Like that scene reminds me a lot of the Kenneth Walker scene from the first movie, where he's playing Mr. Poon and he goes into the office and he's talking about, the pederasts and stuff like that. There are a lot of echoing scenes in this movie, but there's nothing that, once they get to Louisiana, it doesn't feel like they ever really rip off the first movie. But maybe, again, like maybe they should have leaned a little bit more into what worked in the first movie, because they understand clearly that Chevy Chase's comedy worked in the first movie, and his like line delivery and his ability to really get into the character of Fletch was a success. But I think it's like, let's put him in this wacky situation. It's like, that wasn't really what made the first movie work, because the first movie's wacky situation was more like, I would say it was like noir adjacent. You got dirty cops and then dirty like businessmen working together to bring drugs to the beaches of like LA to sell cheap drugs to drug addicts on the beach. That's not a fucking faith healer with, a microphone in his ear having a guy drop trow and expose his butthole to people. Like this is like a much wackier, like the conceit in him is just so much wackier and all over the top. And I think for me, it's less the script that fails for this movie and more the tone just seems a little silly. And I like because you mentioned, Mike, the John Hamm Fletch movie. That movie is even, I would say, less funny than the original Fletch. It's like it's more kind of dry, wry humor, which I think is more akin to the book. And this is more just like almost Beverly Hill Cops 3. Like we're taking this character that started out in a serious movie and we're pushing him to like a really like silly direction. I mean, that fourth Beverly Hills Cop movie was such a good movie because it was a return to form. It was like, there's some stakes. It's kind of serious. There are some real threats. In this movie, it's just like silly. They're literally at the Universal Studios tram backlot at one point, and Hal Holbrook gets washed away by the Mexican flood set, I believe is what it is now. It just, I don't know. It's tonally inconsistent and tonally against the first movie, and I don't like that about it now as an adult, because we never get a third Fletch movie with Chevy Chase. And so it's kind of a bummer that this movie is so goofy, and it's more worried about being goofy than it is telling kind of a compelling story is what it feels.
I agree.
And then even when it comes to the Hal Holbrook character, the whole thing of like, my mother was killed by these chemicals and this whole, like, you know, the environmental disaster that they have going on at these particular plantations. I was thinking, okay, well, he's probably, you know, how did the aunt die? Like, would he assume, oh, your poor aunt died of the same thing that my mother died?
Right.
Because when Fletch goes in and he sees the picture of the mother and the ashes, and when he breaks the picture, Hal Holbrook goes fucking crazy. And he's just like, what? And it just doesn't feel motivated correctly, because it's like, you know, when, you know, the whole thing with the ashes becomes like the major thing and stuff. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see him being very upset about the ashes. I can't see him being upset about the picture, because it's just a picture. You know, you could reframe it. It's not that big of a deal. I guess in the days before digital stuff, it's, you know, a lot harder to recreate a photo and everything, or like if a photo gets ruined, there's no second copy unless you have the negatives laying around. But yeah, I didn't see, I wanted him to be like more empathetic and almost like, oh, well, you know, like you should be with me in this, and you should be with me against these Bible people because they want to snatch up this land. Or even like, who's putting the bad chemicals in the land?
Holbrook, I believe.
Holbrook is okay.
Yeah.
So why did his mother die then? Was it the chemicals or was it something else?
No, his mother just died, but she gave away his land to Arlie Ermy. And so he's like, fuck this. I'm just going to poison all the land around it. So Arlie Ermy can no longer get any more land, because he gave his mom, in a quote confused mental state, like donated most of her land to the Farmsworth ministry. So that's why he hated him so much.
So really he should
be overcomplicated.
Yeah, it's very. It's way too complicated. Like, and here's the thing: go back to the first movie. So what I feel like what they're trying to do is like what they did in the first movie with the
two cases: the case of the beach stuff versus the case with the lawyer
and the land. And remember, then there's the thing with the land in Utah, and he goes to Utah.
Right.
Igor, oh, this is Mr. Igor Stravinsky and all that. Like, and he goes to William, the guy from Blade Runner,
right?
William F. Sanderson's house. He goes because he's the real estate agent. And then he goes and visits Stanwyck's parents. So that's what it feels like they're trying to do. But man, it is done so much better in the first film. Like, the Andrew Bergman script is so much more well written. And again, Andrew Bergman wrote the script for Blazing Saddles with Mel Brooks. Like, I mean, we were quoting Blazing Saddles before we turned on the recorder. Blazing Saddles is a damn near perfect film with a perfect performance by Cleavon Little. And it's hard to not think about how good the first Fletch is with a script from the writer of that film, when this film has Cleavon Little in it and is just kind of spinning its wheels with Chevy Chase's performance. Because, like you said, Mike, the overly complicated nature of this movie gets in the way of the investigative journalism stuff that we got in the first movie, that this movie doesn't even really seem to bother with for the most part. It kind of shows up a couple times sparingly. But the first movie, it's like he's a journalist looking around for clues and investigating for clues. And in this movie, it's more like, hey, here's this funny outfit and let's watch him walk around in it for 30 minutes. And it just doesn't work as well.
You're right. I mean, this was written by Leon Capitanos, who we actually talked a little bit about him when we talked about the Gumball Rally a few years ago. And he really didn't write that many great things. Like we mentioned Moscow on the Hudson several times while we're talking about bad Robin Williams films. He's kind of the reason why I really dislike Richard. Why am I blinking on the gentleman from Jaws, Richard Dreyfuss? Yes, he's kind of the reason why I don't like Richard Dreyfuss, because of those movies that he was making with Paul Mazursky, Moon Over Paradise and Down and Out in Beverly Hills, where I was just like, these are bad films, and those were what he was doing in the 80s, was all of that stuff. So yeah, it's very strange that they didn't go back to Bergman or get a better writer for this, or just adapt another Mcdonald book. But yeah, because you're right. I'm sorry for all of the confusion around the female characters, the toxic waste, because it's like, why are you putting that toxic waste onto Belle Isle, the property that Fletch now owns? Why don't you go to him and be like, hey, don't sell, because you're going to be selling to these pieces of shit, spiritual people, and they ripped off my mother, and they were about to rip off your aunt too, is what it looks like.
Literally, like she had to change her heart. Yeah,
yes.
It's overcomplicated.
Like, what? And here's the question though: to what end? Because the reveals don't really work that well. The reveals aren't that shocking. Let's talk about the reveal in Fletch. Because there's the big reveal in Fletch. There's a couple big reveals in Fletch. There's one big reveal that the cops are in on it. And then the other big reveal is that Stanwyck is going to kill Fletch and replace his own body with Fletch's body in his car, and then blow his car up. That's like ends up being like the big reveal of the
classic noir twist. Yes.
What is the reveal of this movie? That Hal Holbrook's the bad guy with a bizarre, like you mentioned, Mark, hyper convoluted backstory that makes no sense. Like, and that's it. And that the faith healer is a con man, which again, at this point in 1989, that's not a surprising thing. It feels like a lazy stereotype. But again, they like at the last second, they're like, oh, but he's actually not a terrible person. It's like, but what he does for a living makes him a terrible person, and you cannot, there's no counteracting that. The guy is still taking hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars from people and using it for shitty reasons. That cannot be explained away. No amount of land, no amount of any of Hal Holbrook pointing a gun at him is going to change the fact that R. Lee Ermey is kind of the villain of the movie, even if he's portrayed otherwise. And Chevy Chase is just like, oh, his daughter's hot, so that's fine. Well, by the end of the movie, they're back in LA.
He's a villain. He's not the villain of this movie.
Right.
He is a villainous character. He's just not the bad guy here necessarily.
But he's played empathetically. There's not even like a shred of, there's not like the way you would expect him to be played. He's not even gratingly obnoxious in a lot of ways. Like you're meant to empathize with him and meant to find him as kind of like charismatic. And it's kind of bizarre to me because again, it's like these real life people aren't even that charismatic. Like none of them are as charismatic as R. Lee Ermey is. I mean, geez Louise.
Yeah, they really could have done for somebody better as the sheriff and the deputy characters as well. Like, I know they had just used Joe Don Baker in the first one, but Joe Don Baker as the sheriff or a Joe Don Baker type would have been so much. But even get that MFer from the James Bond movies, get the Mr. Pepper out here and have him play the sheriff, because the sheriff, he's okay, but he's not very menacing. And if you just had a heavy for that role, I think it would have been a lot better. Actually would have been more of a threat as opposed to like, oh, here's just this kind of, hick character actor type of guy where I'm like, no, make him somebody physically imposing, somebody that you don't want to mess with, and that anytime you see him, you want to avoid him. Same thing with this deputy. I mean, give us the deputy from, Sheriff Lobo or from, any of the yahoos from Dukes of Hazzard or something. Like, give me somebody good that I can be like, oh yeah, I want to see this guy humiliated with the whole bug in the ear thing. Like, I wanted those roles to be bigger parts than the random Greek dude that Belzer is playing, or like the head of the KKK that Jeffrey Lewis just shows up for with like one scene. I mean, damn, Jeffrey Lewis is so freaking good, and just to kind of waste him in that role, I was like, that's really unfair, guys.
I was just gonna say, I saw him on the cast list and I got excited. I was like, "Oh, I love Jeffrey Lewis," and didn't pay off.
Yeah, and like, there's no real, like, they don't figure out what happened. They come back and then actually do some more damage. I'm like, no, it's not that good. It's Tex Cobb that does all of the heavy lifting in this movie, and sometimes you don't even see him.
I think, and again, this is me just speculating here because I couldn't find it in the research, but I'm assuming, again, just based on the way that this film feels compared to the first one, it feels like they avoided doing the cop thing intentionally because they had already done it in the first movie. So they don't even have I mean, you would expect in a film like this, with this kind of setup, that the cops might be in on it.
Oh, yeah.
And yet, we don't ever see the police after the first scene. I mean, we see that cop come back and Fletch fucks with him, but like, we never see them as a threat. They show up again at the party later, but again, not as we see them in that first scene where they kind of seem like a threat and they're kind of menacing. It feels like the movie's like, oh wait, but we already did that in the first movie. Look, in this kind of noir mystery story, it's okay to retread some old ground. We don't have to take a 180 completely, but it does feel like, again, almost a response to the first movie going, well, the cops are in on it. And in this one, it's like, not only are the cops not in on it, the cops aren't even part of the story, which, again, why is there not a scene of Chevy Chase going to the cops and being like, hey, this is what's going on? Like, there is none of that even. It's weird that it's almost lacking in that story entirely, because it feels, again, kind of like almost in a lot of ways, not to be Mr. CinemaSins, but almost a plot hole. You're going to introduce the cops, they're going to put Fletch in jail, and then he's going to start putting pieces together that there's a conspiracy here, and there's not going to be a scene of him going to the cops and trying to convince them of that going on. Right. Seems like a missed opportunity, given that we've already had this antagonistic, why doesn't that ever happen to me, back and forth. And it's like, well, because you're not Chevy Chase. Like, they feels like just missed opportunity after missed opportunity, really.
No, I totally agree. And just the, again, when he goes to them, that doesn't have to be the scene of, oh, by the way, we're bad cops here. We're on the take or anything. It could just be that thing that we were talking about before, the northern southern thing, or here it's the LA versus LA type of thing, where it's, what are you doing, Mr. City Slicker, coming in here, accusing this Jimmy Lee Farnsworth or Ham, this well-respected lawyer who's been a pillar of our community for 40 years. How dare you do this kind of thing? We don't believe you. Give us something like that, And then the direction, I mean, I love Michael Ritchie. We've talked about Michael Ritchie on my show a bunch of times, and I just really enjoy the stuff that he does. He does a pretty good job directing, though there's one scene in this movie where I was watching and I was just like, what the hell's happening here? And it was when the daughter is driving Fletch, and I'm trying to remember I think it's to the big faith healing thing. Is it? There's one part later on in the movie where she's driving him someplace and he is not in disguise, and he keeps he's putting on his disguise while she's driving. I think it's
when they're going to the bar. It's when he's going to be Ed Harley.
And it's just a bizarre, you can tell that they just said, make goofy faces. And she just keeps making these faces and looking over, look at these faces, looking over. And I'm like, there are way too many reaction shots of her doing this. And what is going on? Of course, we know the car's not moving. The rain is all just somebody with a sprinkler outside or a hose outside. It just brought the artifice of everything really to the fore. And I was like, this just isn't very well handled. The other stuff, yeah, great. I think some of this stuff is very well directed. I really especially like any time that they are in the studio for the faith healing stuff. I think some of that looks really good. And especially how ridiculous it is, where it's like, oh, and this guy and his monkey. And you're like, what the hell? Just all of these weirdos coming out and being introduced. And you're like, okay, yeah, this is going to be one hell of a show you're putting on for people, and somehow tying it all back to Jesus.
And somehow it never ends. Every time they go to the studio,
yes,
he's on. So is it a 24-hour-a-day show?
I think so. It feels like it. Yeah,
they go. I believe so.
Every time they go to the studio, he's on, and it's packed. And I was impressed by the size of the I don't want to say stadium, but the venue is full and it's real people. And I'm like, oh yeah, I miss those days where it's not cardboard cutouts or AI generated crowds. Or...
Digi doubles, those weird Asian characters at the basketball game and that Disney show where they were like bizarro robot type thing.
Yeah, very strange. Very strange.
And they still haunt my nightmares.
Don't you love that at one point they cut to Richard Libertini watching TV with Fletch on the TV?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Like, whatever movie. And by the way, if you notice in that scene, because again, I've seen this movie so many times at this point, you have to notice you have to find new things to notice. Richard Libertini is casually just eating what looks to be a piece of lettuce. Holding a piece of lettuce in his hand going, just a piece of lettuce.
This was years before a veggie wrap, like a protein burger. He wasn't eating an In-N-Out protein burger.
Just eating a piece of lettuce. How West Coast elite of him.
I thought that's what it was, and I'm like, okay.
All right. Yeah, that's what they eat in L.A., just pieces of lettuce.
Because salad dressing is too spicy.
It's too much pepper in it. Don't put so much pepper in my Caesar dressing.
And he's kind of wasted in this, you know.
Totally is, yeah.
Where's Gina
Are you
Davis?
being kidnapped? Yeah. Where is Gina Davis? By this time, she was so much bigger than Chevy Chase.
God, I'm not kidding.
I do use the line, if you're in trouble, is Louisiana the Pelican State? I do use that line fairly often, but because of this movie, I love when Richard Libertini shows up, but he's not in it enough because their back and forth in the first movie is some of the best back and forths in the first movie. They're like interplay, I'll buy a new stick of deodorant, all that.
Everything's kind of truncated in this. That whole deal with him like getting in trouble and all the money he's been spending on his account or whatever, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, I just got an inheritance, so I'm out of here. And it's the same thing with the cops sort of disappearing from the story and maybe coming back, which may or may not be a good thing. I don't know if that would overcomplicate it more that the cops are directly involved, but yeah, I wanted more of Libertini, and I understand why it's not. And it kind of goes to what you said earlier, Chris, where he's sort of investigating, but not really. He keeps sending him stuff. And it's like, well, do you really need to play a journalist in this? Because that conceit is gone when you leave the newspaper, right? You're just some dude that's inherited a dump.
Right.
But
feels like him being a journalist is not a thing in this movie.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, in every single one of the books, though, to go back to the book of it all and to the John Hamm of it all, Mike, I think you would agree, in Confess Fletch, he feels like a journalist. He feels like an investigative journalist. This is the only Fletch thing that he doesn't feel like a journalist because it's so kind of like, well, Fletch is going to Louisiana. You know what? If it had been me, I would have been like, this time Fletch is in L.A., but not where you, and it's like, whoa, fish out of water story. Yeah, exactly. There's a moment in this movie where I'm pretty sure they're referencing a track from the first movie's soundtrack. Are they not? Where he's like, I should get out of town before sundown, which I believe is just a reference to a song from the first movie, which is a weird meta moment in a film that, again, is completely uninterested in. You can watch this movie without anything to do with the first movie. And I think there's like 2 references to the first movie, the Underhills. And I think,
I think that's so easy to miss. So easy to miss.
But then he mentions the credit card as well.
Right. Yeah, he does have the credit card. Yeah.
But the Underhills dancing in the background is something that's like, they don't even make any note of it. It's just like, there they are, just dancing in the background.
Yeah. The credit card scene totally went over my head because I was like, what? But he didn't steal their credit card in the first movie.
No, it makes no sense.
Put stuff on their
on the tab. Yeah.
On the tab at the
and charge it to the Underhills. Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't.
Yeah. He didn't hand over the credit card and say, charge it to the Underhills.
The subtlety of the first movie is lost in this film. It really is.
Yeah. But at least Chevy isn't phoning it in. And we will see a return with him and Michael Ritchie working together again before this podcast is done. So
isn't that a shame or a shame?
We'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Cops and Robertsons, huh? Is it at the final time they work together?
Michael Ritchie had an interesting career.
He sure did, man. I forgot about some of the awful things that he did. I forgot he was behind the Golden Boy or the Golden Child.
Oh, I have a soft spot for that film.
I have a soft spot for it as well. Somebody the other day asked if at work that said, does anybody here have a knife? And I said, well, you have to ask correctly, and started.
It was no. Yeah, God, Golden Child is fun. I'm not. I think though,
I mean, The Bad News Bears is one of my most favorite films.
I mean,
of all time.
For me, I love Smile. I love what he did with that one. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff that he did, but yeah, a lot of garbage too. I think now I haven't seen Digstown, but I can only assume that it's bad.
And if I recall, you don't like the movie The Survivors either.
I don't, but then I also saw it at the drive-in when it was first out, so maybe I should give it another look.
I saw it on cable when we finally got cable, and I played a lot, and I gotta, we talked about Robin Williams recently, and that was one of the ones that I liked him in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, it's a Robin Williams movie directed by
Robin
Michael
Williams
Ritchie
and
Why
Walter
didn't we-
Matthau.
What,
Yeah.
Mike? Why didn't we watch this last month, man? What the fuck? We were watching that Mandy Moore movie instead. That's on me. I feel, man, I would have rather watched a Walter Matthau movie with Robin Williams. I feel like the ceiling is much higher and the floor is much. I feel like the ceiling and floor are much higher than something like License to Wed, which is its floor was fucking subterranean.
Mm-hmm.
God.
I'm not saying it's a good movie. It's another one of those soft
License to
spot
Wed was
movies.
definitely a bad movie.
Yeah, and don't forget Couch Trip. That one, oh my God.
Oh yeah,
With another Walter Matthau, then Dan Aykroyd and Donna Dixon, and then you got Charles Grodin in there.
Oh, dear God. Dan Aykroyd. When we're done with this show, we could do a Dan Aykroyd podcast. I'm not saying we're going to.
I've pitched that.
Oh,
But man, it would be like this, but at least we get to watch Evolution, which is pretty much just Ghostbusters for the 2000s. So, I mean, it is Ghostbusters with aliens.
That would be interesting. There'd be some real highs. There'd be some real highs and some real lows with that scenario.
Yeah.
I think we've seen some of the lows. I think we've seen some of the lows already.
We're not watching them again. Just insert that episode.
Right.
Just insert that episode with a different title.
Yeah. Nothing but trouble that would be those are some shared points of reference, like Caddyshack 2 as well. My God.
Yeah, Spies Like Us, Caddyshack 2, and Nothing But Trouble would all be on the Dan Aykroyd.
Mm-hmm.
Start thinking of a title.
The Arcoid cast. God.
The Aykroyd.
Aykroyd. Dan Aykroyd.
How do you get Aykroyd out of that last name is what I always wondered.
I know. Some weird Canadian spelling.
Isn't it weird that we don't get like a Dan Aykroyd in this movie, though? Like a kind of cameo? It is kind of surprising that because they had worked together.
Him specifically, or
Dan Aykroyd kind of Dan Aykroyd known for doing weird voices, Caddyshack 2. Known for overcommitting to characters, Dragnet. Yeah, you got to do it, Mike. Come on.
Yeah, I could have played the guy that takes him on the coon hunt.
Oh, the coon hunt. True. Poo Joy Juice, everybody. Good Lord. Yeah.
I did like that. I did like in that line though, him looking at Cleavon Little like,
oh yeah,
I just say
that was
even though I've been kind of casually racist this whole time with you.
Oh yeah, well yeah, since I've met you, that's kind of what I enjoy. So
why is Fletcher racist all of a sudden? Does anyone else he wasn't calling Sam, the guy on the beach who was black in the last movie, he wasn't calling him like any sort of racial slur or even an attempt at a racial slur. Is it because they're in the South? But Fletch isn't from the South. He's from LA.
No, I don't know.
Isn't he supposed to be hey, these white people are a bunch of assholes? And I'm I don't know. I guess to your point, and I do wonder this, why is Fletch being mean to him? It actually makes no sense. Is it?
I don't know.
Is it because the movie is expecting us to realize that Cleavon Little is not a slave, a house slave from the jump? I don't get it, but the movie plays it straight.
It's tonally off.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's bizarre. It'd be like if Fletch went to Atlanta and was like, "Hey, what's up, all you N-words?" It's like, what the fuck, Fletch? Like, it doesn't make any sense because he's being racist to him immediately, which is, again, his character seems pretty dialed in the first movie. Like, he seems pretty hip. And all of a sudden, it's like, he's kind of like, that is odd. I guess, I mean, it's funny, but I don't understand why he's doing it.
Fletch is very anti-DEI, you know? It's just like, if you go woke, you'll go broke.
Okay.
And yeah. So.
Fletch supports tariffs, is what I've heard.
That's true.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Okay, understood. I guess, there are parts of this movie that just don't make sense. And sitting here and watching it for a podcast, because this is the first time I've ever done this movie on a podcast on its own. I had only ever done Fletch and then referenced this movie again, especially with Father Malone, because he and I kind of have a little bit of a shared history. I'd never really sat with the movie like this and watched it the way we have to watch it for something like this. And it is a movie that, again, like, I enjoy it and I can completely 100% sit here and go nostalgia 100%. It's a nostalgia thing. I defend this movie with nostalgia, but at the same time, and I think we've already alluded to this or said it outright, there's no other time that Chevy Chase plays Fletch. And I think in a lot of ways, Chevy Chase's best character that he ever played in anything is Fletch, other than essentially playing himself on SNL, which is, I think, like the second best thing he ever did. And then I think the third best thing is either, depending on your cup of tea, Foul Play or Clark Griswold. But I think Fletch is Chevy Chase's best character because I think it is, again, as close to just being what I think Chevy Chase probably is in real life as any of the characters he ever plays is. And this movie just kind of feels like Fletch hasn't gotten really hip with the times. Fletch is kind of stuck in a time and a place where the character never evolved into 1989. And if he did evolve into 1989, I don't know what they put on screen because that's not the reality of the character that we're seeing in the movie. And look, there's no Fletch 3. There's Confess Fletch, which is a completely different interpretation, a completely different director. I think a director who feels uniquely suited to making Fletch movies. Greg Mottola, I think the tone of his movies and the things that he's worked on really works with a comedically mystery tone. I mean, again, like Greg Mottola's tone, you can put this kind of sense of humor on top of another genre and it kind of works just because I think he has an interesting way of doing things and writing because he wrote the script for Confess Fletch, but there's not a Fletch 3 with Chevy Chase, so we don't get any more. It's kind of like what I say about the X-Files. Even a bad episode of the X-Files is still pretty good because it's David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson. This movie still is kind of okay because it's Chevy Chase playing the best character he ever plays for a second time. It's just, it doesn't have, it's like a note being played just a little out of tune. It's not, it's a little discordant from that first movie, which I'm going to just say this now. I don't think we're going to watch a better movie on this podcast than Fletch, in my opinion. And I know that might seem a little biased because it's one of my favorite comedies, if not my favorite comedy. But I think I might make the case to both of y'all that is, in fact, the case for Chevy Chase, that it is his funniest movie, that first movie, especially when you compare it against this, because this doesn't succeed nearly as well as that first movie. And I think this movie's failures show how well that first movie navigates something that maybe felt pedestrian at the time, but watching this, it's like, wow, somebody was really deftly writing a mystery script with comedy beats on top, because this movie misses effectively the plot of the movie outright. We've been complaining about the plot of the movie, but not the comedic bits, because the comedy in this movie still pretty much works because it's Chevy Chase. The plot is awful. The plot in the first movie actually are bits of the movie that are rather memorable. Here, it's just a complete waste. And that's because the script writing talents are just not there.
I'm going to go on record and say the next movie we watch is actually, for me, personally, I enjoy more than either Fletch film.
Oh,
I can tell you that.
Interesting.
Just putting that out there, for next time. I may eat my words. I haven't watched it in a while, but I like the Christmas Vacation film.
I mean, I know a lot of people love it, and I'm excited to see it because I've never seen it before.
That is the fucking wildest part for me. I'm excited for you to see it because you've never seen it before. I don't know how you've never seen it. It's like referenced. It's like part of the zeitgeist at this point, to the point of like, it's like, how did I avoid Home Alone for so long?
Oh, I avoided Home Alone until 2 years ago, I think. So, and I still haven't seen Home Alone 2 all the way through, even though, from what I understand, it stars one of the best people who has ever lived in the entire universe. So
smart economic man.
Yes.
If you're listening to this in the future and the wasteland is being roamed by mutant animals and they're ravaging our corpses.
In the future, do we have a future? Is there going to be a future for anyone to listen to this?
I don't know. Mark sounds like Sarah Connor all of a sudden. Yeah. Put that voiceover over the fucking nuke in Terminator 2 and I'd watch that. Is there a future? I don't know.
My 401k got nuked. I can tell you that. Thinking back, the whole idea of the comedy versus the mystery kind of stuff, like the stuff with him having that fantasy about the Lakers is kind of like, it's almost distracting. It works for him, works for his character, and works to show us how much he loves the Lakers. But at the same time, it's like, okay, this adds nothing to the film. Totally. Whereas with this one, it's like, all right, the fantasy about the plantation is really actually pretty good. And I don't know, it doesn't feel like there's that many distracting bits to it, though. This tries to red herring us several times. There are a few times where you're like, oh, is it the real estate agent? Oh, is it Cleavon Little? Because there's even the moment where, like, after Fletch gets attacked in the forest, he doesn't see who it is, but yet he sees the Laker watch. So I'm just like, well, okay, it's Randall Tex Cobb. When he took your Laker watch, but then he comes back to Cleavon Little's like shack and feels the TV to feel if it's warm, like had he been out kind of thing. And there's like some suspicious glances, especially around the shotgun and stuff.
The shoe prints on the ground.
And prints, right? Mud on his boots, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. The same mud. Yeah. So it's
then that didn't go anywhere.
No. Yeah. No. It's
is that what they were leading me to?
Yeah. They were trying to say Cleavon Little was possibly in on it. Yeah. It's spinning its wheel. The movie, to your point, Mark, movie is overly complicated and fucking spins its wheels. And I'm on it. Like, as much as I like this movie, it is a frustration point now because that first movie is so good. And you just wonder what could this movie even have been if it had just been written by Andrew Bergman? Just if they want to stick this same kind of ridiculous conceit of they're, going to Louisiana and the Bayou and faith healers and all this wild, again, kind of like elevated stereotype nonsense. If we're going to go there, I wonder what that would have been written by Andrew Bergman. Would that have worked probably a little bit better? Maybe. I feel like this movie hamstrings itself with the plot immediately. Like, I don't know. I get the fish out of water, but put Fletch in another city and that's enough, like Boston or New York. Like, I don't need that much of a culture shock with this character. This feels too much. It would have been better if it had just been the West Coast guy on the East Coast, which Confess Fletch kind of does a little bit. It doesn't, again, he's not as played up LA in Confess Fletch as he is in these two movies, especially the first Fletch, where it's like, we get it, it's LA, we get it, Los Angeles Lakers, we get like fucking, they're gonna like beat me over the head with it, why don't you? Like, this movie kind of, it has it, but not as much. But yeah, I don't know, putting him in at the other LA, Louisiana, just the movie, I don't know, the movie is like, well, the conceit alone will carry us through. It's like, no, not quite, which is a shame, because I guess it could have. There's a possibility that it could have.
Well, yeah, we just saw him as a fish out of water in Funny Farm a couple films ago. And like, where's the lamb balls in this one? Like, they do eat strange things in Louisiana, and he could have been very turned off by that. Like, just even play that stuff up. It doesn't feel like they really know what to do with the fish out of waterness of it.
No, well, it's like, we'll go on a coon hunt. He'll go eat that fish at one point, but, and then they have the Beaujolais thing where it's like, what kind of, we're bringing in wine, Beaujolais, made with grapes. But yeah, it's, I don't know. It just, we kind of beaten it to death, but the stereotypes of this movie are just a bit much. But I think, we've seen worse sequels already. Literally, I would say this movie's better than European Vacation.
Oh
like,
God, yes.
So
No,
that
I
was
don't
a
think that-
sequel already. Like we've already seen a sequel, and that wasn't that compared to this. Like this is a much better film, even.
Oh yeah, I honestly don't think this is a bad film. I think they made a couple of missteps along the way that could have been a little bit better, but no, God, compared to a month of bad Robin Williams films, but compared to the last few things that we've seen for this. Yeah, no, this is like a real movie, whereas some of the things that we watched didn't even feel like they were real movies.
Well, Funny Money was not a real movie.
I've got a really off-topic question for you guys because it kind of has been bugging me since this scene in Fletch Lives. Is the bar that he goes to, the biker bar that he goes to, not the interior, but the exterior, is it the same as the one in Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
Sure looks like it. I mean, when he took off on that motorcycle, I was expecting him to run right into the billboard. I mean, if it's not the same one, it's like they're filming it from the same angles or something.
Yeah, they're definitely filming it from the same angle because the moment they pulled up, I'm like, oh my God, they're at the Pee-wee bar. And I started to sort of search online, and all I can find is shots of the inside when he's doing the dance. But I mean, the bikers, it's maybe it's just too reminiscent of that scene.
Well, the character that Chevy Chase is playing is very, what's the word? An obvious gay stereotype?
Right. Yeah. And there's that. And
not like offended or anything, but it's just like he's doing a lisp. He has yeah.
See, I wasn't hearing a lisp. I was hearing a Minnesota accent. So I was just hearing this, oh, you betcha kind of thing.
It's a little bit of both.
Well, he's kind of like this.
And Harley Davidson motorcycle.
Harley Davidson, didn't you know?
Maybe it's not a lisp as much as he's like doing the thing where you like kind of keep your tongue forward in your mouth.
Your tongue down here.
Yeah. Like this. And Harley Davidson motorcycles. Yeah.
Yeah. But no,
you can see his tongue in the scene like fucking moving like forward all the time like a snake.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking of that scene from Pee-wee as well.
Yeah, the bikes all lined up in the front there.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're it's like Nazi bikers. I mean, they're all dressed the same way. It's just I don't know. It struck me as
say let me have them. Yeah. I say we let him go.
Oh man,
I do think the most inspired, I will say, of the again, to kind of put a pin in it, like of the scenes in the movie where he is in disguise, which I think, again, like if you want to talk about just Fletch and the Fletch movie versions, Fletch character in the book a little bit different, but the Fletch movie really is being sold on like Chevy Chase is doing wacky bullshit as characters. If you look at that and this movie alone, just from that standpoint, I think for me, that character, that whole scene, I think is the best part of the movie for me in terms of like it being a fully realized character, him really settling into it having some interesting directions that it goes. And then I think also like the motorcycle scene where he's like, yo, mustache looks funny. Like all of that, like I think it all works even when they get out of the bar and they're kind of doing something else. And I think the scene where he's playing the faith healer comes close, but it feels like such a retread from earlier in the movie where he's already on stage. And it's like, wait, like, I don't think we need to either do one or the other, but not both. And then that scene where he's as a faith healer goes on. I mean, there are some funny lines in that scene, like, God damn it, T-Boo, put your pants back on. Cause he's like a guy exposing his asshole to people, literally. Cause the guy has hemorrhoids. Cause that's the joke, obviously. Haha. Guy's exposing himself in front of people. Sure. But like that goes on for so long and it's so prolonged that it's like, well, they already did this earlier on in the movie, and that scene was pretty prolonged as well. So it feels like they're spending a lot of time doing this for essentially two jokes, when in that Ed Harley scene, they get a lot of mileage out of the way he's interacting with the characters and a lot of the lines and the line delivery and his outfit. It feels so much more fully realized than anything else in the movie, which is a shame because I would say in the first movie, all of those disguises work. In this movie, I would say almost none of them are as memorable as even some of the ones in the first movie that don't work that well.
Mm-hmm. Well, when he's I think I was trying to remember, he plays the same kind of character in the first film around the airplane.
Yeah, Billie Jean King, Bug Buster.
Flat top guy.
Yeah, another good character from Blazing Saddles in there.
Yeah, but
The guy with the huge teeth. Yeah.
yeah, Bert Gilliam.
Right.
Oh, yes. Right. Yes.
You know, swing low, sweet chariot.
Yeah.
Tell him I said ow.
Take wire, main office, tell him I said, gotcha.
Yeah, that guy. He plays the same character in this, but he's doing in Fletch, he doesn't do the Southern accent. It's kind of not, in this movie, he's doing like the Southern
It's like,
accent.
oh, that's the same disguise, right? And they kind of threw me off like the lawyer scene in his apartment going, all right, well, I've seen this before. That's why I enjoyed the Ed Harley and the faith healer. But I think to your point, Chris, that's unnecessary because he has already been there. And even though he's trying to suss out if this guy is the culprit, I guess, is the point of that scene. But yeah, I still go back to I think my final thought on it is, thank God he wasn't phoning it in this time. Because that's when we have problems with our episode.
Well, with Chevy Chase, at least. Because when he phones it in,
phoning it in literally in Oh Heavenly Dog, I think he fucking actually phoned in his voiceover. And wasn't even watching.
It was poorly quality done, that's for sure.
Yeah, and he was not even watching the movie when he was phoning it in. It's like, okay, you guys are recording this, right? Okay, you squeeze it in somewhere where it works. Okay,
yeah,
send me that check.
And last month with his reprisal of Ty Webb, just I'm just here for 3 scenes. Yeah,
there's been too many phone in. Orange County, I'm in here for all of a minute and a half.
Yeah, that was fun. This is the first time in a while where it's like Chevy's he's here.
Yeah, he's in almost every single scene, if not every single shot. Yeah.
And yes, there are pratfalls and slapstick, but
it's
they
natural.
Get a pass.
Yeah,
they get a pass.
It feels very, very natural, like him with his sword when he bends over and knocks all the tomatoes off of the thing. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's kind of funny. Like, I understand.
Yeah. And even, stepping into the porch when it falls out from under him and falling off the porch, we're done in a naturalistic way. I bought it. Sometimes I didn't buy it.
My favorite bit of physical comedy is, and we kind of mentioned it a little bit, I think you guys were more frustrated at the scene than I am ever, because I think it's one of the funniest scenes in the movie. There's a scene of Jeffrey Lewis with a megaphone screaming at Chevy Chase and Cleavon Little, and in the background you can see Chevy Chase in a sheet run by, which is it's a really funny, small moment, but I actually...
And the way he's lifting up his legs really big and stuff. Yeah, it does that very well. Yeah, you should go back and watch it. It's very funny.
Him in the clan costume and that whole thing with the clan, what Clavern claims Clavern Cucamonga, and they're calling him Clukies, and he's whacking him upside the head.
You call him what?
It's a California.
I loved it that they couldn't light anything on fire. That's what got me in that scene.
Burn. A contract job. We have to rent out down here.
When Cleavon Little's there and he just goes, "Where's all the white women at?"
Yeah, I was waiting for Gene. Well, hey, boys.
Those hands are a little dirty after that cross burning last night. It's coming off.
Yeah, it's reminiscent of that. I do like that, Sam. And yet, I wish Jeffrey Lewis was in the movie more. But I do like that we get Fletch going up against the moron racists in the movie, which is fun. I do like that we get we have I'm surprised there aren't more moron racists in the movie, frankly, given we have Cleavon Little in the movie, a black man in the, quote, New South, unquote. But, again, we do get the, coon hunt side eye. So at least the movie acknowledges that. But
yeah, it's just kind of weird that he is sort of racisty at the beginning when he pulls up,
Yeah. Jump up and down, turn around, pick a bale of cotton. Like, bitch, what the fuck, dude? What?
Yeah, thank God it's all white people in this fantasy sequence.
Also that.
Exactly. I was like, oh, okay. But they're still kind of doing the voice, like the lawyer and stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It was like
the lawyer's kind of doing an
invitation. Yeah, they're all white. We're playing it safe here. Thank God.
I
Thank God for that.
I also didn't realize, again, Mark, you were mentioning the bug scene. This is the first time I've apparently ever watched Fletch Lives with the subtitles on. So I did not realize he says Reticularius Mariaquomos.
Yes.
Which I had never put one and one together as that's what he was saying up until watching it as a 35-year-old adult. So there's that. Boy, what?
Oh, the Cuomos.
Oh, the Cuomos. Yeah, Mario Cuomos. Man, they've been making references to him
And his
since
boys.
1989.
And his boys are doing great stuff these days.
Oh, boy.
What I've heard. I'm just Italian, folks. I don't know any better.
Oh,
Me too, pal, and yet I can keep my fucking hands to myself, but whatever.
mhm.
Anything else we want to talk about with Fletch Lives? All right.
Good.
Oh, you know what? One weird thing. This is
He's pulling a Columbo on us.
totally irrelevant, but the very beginning of the movie, the Richard Belzer scene, who I was hoping to see more of, and that has nothing to do with the main plot. But he stares directly into the camera when it's panning in to him. I was like, that was weird. Why did they not do a second take for that? Because it wasn't supposed to happen. He notices something going on and looks at the camera, waiting for Michael Ritchie to yell cut or something. And it just kind of threw me off.
I hate the assumption of Greek stereotypes that they like to break plates on the ground. $75,000 in breakage.
Yeah, they
It's
like
a lot
the party.
of breakage.
Yeah.
At least it's not Japanese people with a fucking camera, which we've also had in Chevy Chase movies that we've talked about.
That's true. That's true. So starting with you, Mark, and then Mike, final thoughts on Fletch Lives.
Hey, we're back to Chevy. We're back to Chevy doing something, putting in some effort. Thank God. And we've got a good lineup coming up. I like Christmas Vacation. We've got Nothing But Trouble, which I'm really intensely curious about. And then I think our special episode after that is the recent Vacation movie. I like those guys' movies.
You're gonna
We've
like
also
that
discussed
movie.
that, so I'm looking forward to that. I've been wanting to see it forever. So
Your intense curiosity is not going to be well-founded. my friend.
after that, it might be just a shit sandwich, but at least we have 3 movies that I'm optimistic about.
Yes, I hope to finally be able to make sense of all the references to Eddie and the shit house and all that kind of stuff that my family, my in-laws, they just,
There's full.
oh my God, they,
The shit. I was like, Mike's misquoting the movie. The shit house.
oh, sorry.
No, it's
Yeah,
fun.
all right.
It's fucking hilarious. It's more. I think it's funnier that you misquoted it. I thought that was part of the bit.
Well, no, not part of the bit. That part of me being stupid. So,
No,
yeah.
well, no, it's funny. Is what I was like. This is part of the bit. I think this is hilarious.
So yeah, I'm excited to check those out, and yeah, I hope we didn't come down too hard on Fletch Lives. I think it can stand it. You know, some people consider this a classic, and yeah, I found a lot of good things around this film. There were a couple things that I could have done better, but yeah, just nice to see a really solid Chevy Chase performance again. It feels like a long time since we've seen one of those.
Yeah, no, that was Mike. You and I had recorded earlier in the week, and that was kind of the one thing I had said to you. Was like, man, doesn't it feel nice that we're actually watching like a real movie for the first time in a while, like an actual fucking film that has even if the plot's a mess, like it is still a attempt at a plot. And yeah, I don't know how people sit and watch bad movies all the time other than going and being like, we're gonna make fucking dumb jokes the whole time and farting poo-poo jokes. Like, I mean, if that's all you're doing, fine. But I will tell you, sitting and watching like mediocre to bad movie after mediocre to bad movie is not great.
It's very, isn't it?
Wearing, yeah.
Yeah, and like again, like, oh fucking, I hear someone in the distance going, "First world problems, you 3 white assholes."
Oh yeah,
But at the same time,
of course.
if we only have a certain amount of time every day to spend on watching things, and then if we have to sit and watch them critically and you expect to listen to us talk about them with any amount of knowledge, then we're going to have to watch these movies once, if not twice. And man, watching Patch Adams 3 times was a bit much. Watching License to Wed 3 times was a bit much.
No.
And like, that's the thing. Like when we watch this after watching those Robin Williams movies for a month, this feels like kind of a refreshing, like, palate cleanser. Like, the tingle of lemon on my palate all of a sudden. Because it's like, it's a plot. It's a movie that's not completely at odds with itself. I mean, again, it has its problems, but at the end of the day, Chevy Chase's performance carries it through. But just particularly in respect to this podcast, this feels like the first time in months, literally, because it has been 3 months, that we have watched a good Chevy Chase film, or at least a middling Chevy Chase. And yeah, if you go and listen to How Did This Get Made or some of these other shows where all they do is shit all over movies, they're not, I don't know how they can do it other than shitting all over it, because otherwise it's like, this movie's not great. And it's like, well, what do we talk about critically with a not great movie? You got to do a lot to talk about a movie that's bad without just sitting and taking the piss out of it constantly. Because it's, again, these sometimes the like Funny Money or, oh God, the movie before Funny Money, Spies
Funny
Like
Farm.
Funny Farm. like, or even Spies Like Us, like there were things to like in it, but overall, like not overtly great movies, but we have to find something worth talking about. And, same with those Robin Williams movies, and same with Fletch Lives. Like, Fletch Lives at times is not a great movie, especially in comparison to a movie that I consider to be one of my favorite movies. But to Mike's point, it's a better movie than a lot of the things we've watched recently. And at the end of the day, I'd sit down and rewatch it before I would sit down and rewatch pretty much anything we watched for Mike White March over at the Kulturecast, and I would rewatch it over most everything we've watched for this podcast, especially something like Spies Like Us or Deal of the Century, a movie that I swear to God I couldn't tell you a single fucking thing about at this point, other than it had Gregory Hines and Sigourney Weaver and Chevy Chase in it. So, but to both of your points, I think the next episode is going to be one that I'm excited to do because, Mike, you've never seen it. And Mark, it's a movie that I honestly never thought I would do an episode on because I think the interesting part is that Mike has never seen it. And that for me is kind of what I'm most excited about and getting to talk about it with you, Mark. But like, it's a movie that I've never contemplated talking about because it's a movie I watch once a year. And it's like, would I ever talk about The Santa Claus, another movie that I've seen a million times at this point? Like,
And it's an oddity too, because does it need to be a Griswold movie? It could have just been any fan,
right. Exactly. Again,
because they're not going on vacation. We've got the whole weird thing with the kids again, and, different kids every movie, blah, blah, blah. But it's just I think it just has a lot more going for it than even the original, which I am a big fan of.
Yeah, but I also never thought I would talk on a podcast about Fletch Lives because for the most part, I don't program my own months. And if I do, well, I'm not saying I don't program my own months, but I don't program months for movies that I like because I don't want to talk. I mean, Mike, you and I have talked about doing a Goodfellas episode forever, which is the movie that when someone asks me, that's normally my answer because it's a movie that most people can at least have some frame of reference for. But we've never done that either. And I wonder what that episode's going to be like. And I never thought I would do a Fletch Lives episode or do Fletch twice at this point because I've done a Fletch episode 2 times, but I never thought I would do an episode on Fletch Lives. So I'm glad that you guys enjoyed it. I was a little trepidatious, but I'm glad that the reason I ultimately enjoy the movie, which is Chevy Chase's performance, is the reason that y'all weren't super put off by it the way some of the last couple things we've watched for this show have put all of us off. And again, if you're watching these movies with us, I don't think there's any way you liked Funny Money any more than we did. So, but you were probably glad to at least enjoy listening to us talk about it, but I'm not sure you enjoyed it. And if you did, wow.
Why aren't we doing the couch trip? Chevy's in the couch trip too.
It's a cameo, even though
I know.
That was pretty much his role in Orange County was cameo.
Yeah. But Orange County, there's a different reason we watched Orange County.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Mike wrote it.
Yeah.
And Mike's the reason.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
All my fault. I know. Yeah.
So,
and I'm also the guy that told the guy who was writing my music for White Lotus to just fuck right off. So
that's true. I heard it.
I don't even watch that show, but I know that Mike White's a bastard around that. So.
So speaking of Mike White, where can people find you when they want to hear you talk about things that you work on?
Well, I don't really talk about a whole lot of Mike White movies over at the projection booth, but I definitely, maybe I should get Mike over on the show. That'd be interesting. Mike White, Mike White.
I would be. I would listen. How has that not happened already, Mike?
I mean, personally,
I thought you tried to make it happen and it just hadn't.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I would love to do a print interview, and so it would be so confusing.
Hey,
Who am I talking? Who is this? Yeah.
Mike, I think it would be honest. honestly kind of funny if you on your show did Mike White March and did it on Mike White.
Mike White.
The other Mike White. Boy, I mean, wow.
Ooh,
Well, that's
boy.
horrifyingly, that's a meta joke for like only the people that listen to your show and my show.
Mhm.
But I think there's enough Mike White stuff at this point. I mean, you could just use the episode we did for Orange County. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
One in the bag.
You got a week off.
interview.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, you can find everything that I do over at weirdingwaymedia.com, except for one thing that Chris and I do with our dear friend Richard Haddam, which is called Rankin on Bond. You can get that at our Patreons, which is patreon.com/projection booth and patreon.com/Kulturecast. That's culture with a K. Be sure to check those out. And yeah, it's a lot of good fun over at Weirding Way Media, including some stuff by Mr. Mark Begley.
Hey, that's me, and you can catch my shows Wake Up Heavy and Cambridge and Sean over on weirdingwaymedia.com. I have a note. My wife has been watching The White Lotus. I kind of pretty much missed the whole first season, but I caught a little bit of it. But season 2 and 3, I'm pretty much sticking with, and I kind of like it.
All right, you're welcome.
Season 3 has the big guy.
And I have no idea what the music controversy is about because I'm not bothered by the music in the new season at all. So I'm like, what the fuck are people talking about?
Doesn't season 3 have Walton Goggins in it?
Yeah, it does have Walton Goggins in it.
Big Gogs, is
And
called.
Arnie's
Isaac, and yeah,
Arnie's son, Parker
right.
Posey,
Arnie is in like
Southern Belle.
Schwarzenegger's son?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a decent actor. Yeah.
Hey, you know what they say? Just because you're a Nepo baby doesn't mean you don't have talent.
It's very true. I mean, family business. Isn't family business a thing in America? Shouldn't we be saluting that? Begley and Sons. I don't have a son, but
I don't know if we should be supporting it, Mark Begley. I think at this time and juncture in our history, maybe we don't support family businesses, pal. Or maybe we support certain family businesses and not others.
Speaking of Michael Ritchie, go listen to the Projection Booth episode on Smile.
That's right.
It was a fascinating episode on a fascinating film that I have not seen. But it's also been put out by Fun City Editions. Speaking of them, let's bring everything full circle on this.
Yeah, I really kind of wish they had talked to me about that one. That would have been fun. I've got a lot of good interviews on that episode, but whatever. I'm not.
Yeah. I think they have people they go with.
Oh yeah,
extra stuff.
That's for sure.
Speaking of extras, I'm extra as fuck. And you can find all the things that I work on at weirdingwaymedia.com as well, where I shoot my mouth off on the Kulturecast, which I talked about Fletch on there like, a couple of years ago with Father Malone when we did an episode on Fletch and then we did an episode on Confess Fletch, I believe. So and if it wasn't the same episode, there were 2 episodes, but I think they may have been even the same episode. Yeah, it was like a full Fletch episode, I think.
And there's a Fletch.
Well, there's a whole show just about Fletch. And I forget what the guy's name is, but he left a comment on the Fletch episode and was like, "Good job," from something Jim. He's like, it's like a Fletch podcast where it's just about Fletch. Like, and I'm like, awesome, that rules. But yeah, that's where you can find all the stuff that I work on. Mike mentioned it. Rankin on Bond is on our Patreons. Support any of the content creators for Weirding Way Media, be it 80s TV Ladies, be it Cambridge and Washawn, be it Wake Up Heavy, be it, Twisted and Uncorked, be it Midnight Viewing, anything and everything. There's a lot to support, and there's a lot of people making a lot of great content. Yeah, the next time you hear us, we're going to be talking about Christmas Vacation, and until then, I don't know, just, I'm...
Stay Chevy.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm Chris Stachiw, as you're not.